Okay, I think I have it right now. Every week I forget something. Good morning. This morning we're going to do a little bit of a twist on a gatefold card. So I'm going to show you how to make this one, and it's actually 3 different cards in one. It's a gatefold so that it opens this way, but it's also a Z fold, and it has a window in it. So 3 different things all combined in one. So that's what we're going to do today. I'm actually going to show you 2 different cards. I'm going to show you 2 ways to do this window gatefold. So I think you're going to enjoy it. And I'm going to switch cameras real quick. Well, no, I'm not going to switch cameras just yet. Last week I showed you this cascading display card, and Deb won it during the live, and Sherry with an S is getting it from all the replays, the responses from the replays. So congratulations, ladies. I'm going to switch well, no, I'm not. Totally discombobulated this morning. I want to remind you that there is 1 week and 1 day left for the celebration. That's where you can earn free products just for simply buying what you were going to buy anyway. So if you don't have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator and you want to take advantage of those great deals during celebration, if you don't have one, I'd love to be your demonstrator. So now I'm going to switch cameras and we're going to get started. Okay, here we go. And while I'm working on this, if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the comments as we go along. I have a window that's popping up for some reason on top of everything. I can't see what I'm doing. Who knows why? It does that sometimes. And it's blocking my comments at the moment. So we're just going to press on, and maybe this window will go away here in a bit. Don't know why it's doing that. And so, like I said, it's a Z fold, it's a gate fold, and it has a window in it. So, but I'm also going to show you another one as we go along. The measurements are in the description, so the measurements for this card are in the description. You won't need to write them down. An important part about this card is it does take a full sheet of cardstock, because we're going to glue 2 card bases together to give us this extra length that we need in order to put it in. So this window that's popped up is really driving me crazy, and I'm trying to figure out how to get it to, there we go, it went away. Whew. Good morning, Terry. Good morning, Deb. And then, so I just used the thank you from the Something Fancy stamp set. I love the fonts in this, and I just thought it would be fun to have a thank you card on hand that's kind of springy with all the flowers. So I'm going to set this up in the corner, and hopefully it'll stay in the corner. And what you need is you need 2 pieces of your cardstock base. I've chose Calypso Coral, and these measure 5.5 inches by 8.5 inches, both of them, and they're both scored at 2 1/8 of an inch and 4 1/4 of an inch. So for good morning, Mary. For those of you who don't like measurements, just simply fold your card in half, and I'm going to give it a good crease with my bone folder, and then fold part of it back in half again. For those of you who are watching us on replay, we are making a modified gatefold in the sense that I combined a Z fold with a gatefold with a window. So we now have 2 pieces, and we'll end up gluing them together like this, so that we have our fold on either end. I'm going to set those aside for a moment because we need to work with our Designer Series paper. And then, of course, we have basic white on the inside that measures 4 by 5 1/4. You'll need 2 pieces for this fold. You'll need 2 pieces that measure 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches. And if at all possible, try to get them exactly the same, or use a non-directional paper. I'm picking out this one from the Favorite Flowers. It's a celebration paper, and it is still available. I did check it out. I have another one here that I'm going to show you in the end that I wanted to show you with the Dainty Flowers paper, but it's sold out. So I had to scramble real quick and make another card using something different. So the first thing I'm going to do with this is I'm going to take where my fold is, and I'm going to line my paper up on here, and I'm going to tack it down with some washi tape so that it stays in place. Good morning, Irene. Good morning, Mary. Have I missed anyone? No, I think I'm keeping up so far. Okay, so we have this one, and then we're going to bring in, I used the layering circle dies. And I believe I used this one here. You have 8 of the circles and 8 of the scallop circles. That does look like the one I used. Okay, so we're going to line this up in the center. If you have a centering ruler, that works perfect. If not, if you have grid paper, that also has a centering ruler on the one edge. So I'm going to use my centering ruler because I want to make sure that both sides are exactly the same. And then you can just gauge wherever you want. You could put it dead center, you could put it to the top. I'm thinking that's about a good distance in. And I realize you can't see these measurements up here in the screen, but I'm just using that with the 0 in the middle because I can measure from the sides. Centering rulers are our best friend. And then I'm going to push everything aside here real quick and bring in, good morning Paula, good morning Eileen. And I'm going to bring in my die cutting and embossing machine. And I need to use my big one, not my little one, because I need to bring it in for the full length of the card, and the little one's only 3 inches. And I'm going to run this through, and I'm going to cut both my designer series paper and my card base at the same time. If you're just joining us or joining us on replay, I'm showing how to do a modified gatefold. So when we take that off, we have, now this circle has a fold in it, but wouldn't it be great on another card to use it as like a little pull tab on a pocket card? And then this one doesn't have any creases in it. So you could use this circle on some other card. And I'll take that off later because we're not going to use that today. Now I'm going to take this one and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to take this washi tape off and I'm going to adhere this one temporarily to the other card front. So we're going to open it back up. Now I want to make sure that I'm okay. Doing it on the other side here. Tack this in place where it will be when our card is glued together. And this is why I picked, well, you'll see in a minute, why I tried to get 2 sheets cut exactly in the same place. Now this time, instead of, I'm going to place this underneath. This is how I'm going to line up that circle. I'm going to lay it in underneath here so I can push it around. And some more washi tape to hold it in place when I get there. I'm going to line my first card base, the front, on top of the other card base, the front, and then I can play with pushing this die around underneath here and getting it lined up exactly in the same place. And that looks pretty good. It looks like I've got it lined up. While I'm holding that, I'm going to come down, hold that, slide that top card away, and tape this one down. And this is how we're going to get these to match up, hopefully perfect, if not close to it. Calypso Coral is a beautiful color, yes. And I want to remind you, if you have any questions as I'm going along, please just type a Q and then your question, and then I'll get to them at the end. Eileen, you say you're a bit late. You're not that late. We've pretty much just gotten started. And so again, we have these pieces we can use on something else. I'm peeling this tape off because we're going to need the same die for the second card when I show you a different version. Let me peel these off. Very gently so that we don't tear the paper. There we go. And I'll keep those so that I can use them. And so now we have, this is going to line perfectly on here. Now you could glue this down before you cut that out and then fold it, but I've found that once you fold it, it folds evenly, but then when you come back this way, you have kind of a bump here in the middle. So I'm going to actually cut these two pretty papers in half. So I'm going to just cut right down the middle of them. You'll have a little bit of the Calypso coral showing, but not enough to be distracting. So I want to make sure that those stay on that card base, and these two go on this card base. So I've just simply cut them in half. Now we can glue these pieces on. So I'm going to glue these two pieces here and these two pieces here. I recommend using liquid glue for this step because, oh, this one's almost empty. Let me grab a full one. So that you can slide this around a bit. And I'm going to line this right up on top of this circle and up close to, but not over, my score line. And the same thing on the other side. We've actually already done the hardest part, and that's lining up the circle and cutting in the two pieces out. Okay, so you see that I've got just a little bit of Calypso coral showing there. The reason for that is when I fold it this way, it just folds nice. If you left it whole, it would fold around really nice, but then when you pull it apart, you'd have a bump here, so this just makes it lay flatter and nicer. They're working on your siding today. Kind of a, you would have thought they would have done that in the fall, not in the middle of the winter. Okay, if you're just joining us, we're doing a modified gatefold. And if you're joining us on replay, this is why I like to use the liquid glue, because I got that a little over my score line and I don't want that. So I can play around with it and still pull it around. hopefully without getting too much glue on my fingers before pressing it down hard. And then we have this side. So when you open it, the design continues across, but after we glue these together and fold them, you'll have a little bit of a gap. We can do some trimming on one of the card bases to eliminate this gap in here, but now you see that the pattern still carries across this way as well. It is a very pretty orange, so I don't think this one has more of a gap than I would like, so I am going to do a slight trim on this. I happen to have this little miniature cutter, so I'm just going to bring this in, and I'm going to slide in here, and I'm just going to cut off just a tiny smidge. I mean, really a sliver. Like a tiny sliver. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other card base. And that will just help these slide in together better. There we go. Now I could have cut off a little bit more, but this definitely looks much better to me. It's not as big of a gap. So we're going to put adhesive on one base. Whoops. Forgot to turn notifications off on my computer. I apologize for that. And then because I use liquid glue, I can slide these around to get them to fit nice and snug. So they might get, like this one's got just a little, came a little bit off when we slid the two card bases together, but I don't think once we get it done you're going to notice. So to stamp our thank you, I'm going to use the Stamparatus. And what I did, what I like to do is I like to lay this in about where it's going to be. Fold these over. Take a pencil and trace this. Then I can lay this in and I can move it around and play around with it. And okay, so that's not centered where I want it to be. And I can just start sliding it around. And it's also a little bit lower than what I want, so I can just start pulling it down a bit. Let's try this line down here. And maybe just a little bit more. I think that's probably going to be it. Let's see. And I kind of like where that's lining up in that circle. Now I don't have to. I could flip it over if it lined up perfect on the lines. But because I cut this one slightly lower than I did my sample, I needed to adjust it. So I'm going to take Calypso Coral ink. And give my inked stamp a little back rub. And I want it to be darker, so I'm just going to keep doing this over and over. That's the biggest beauty of the Stamparatus, is then you get it over and over directly on top of where you want it to be. And that looks pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and clean the stamp so that because we're going to use a different color on the other card. That way it can dry while we're working on the other card. Bring in an eraser and get rid of our pencil marks. Now, if this had lined up perfectly on those grid lines, then I would have just flipped it over and stamped on the other side and not had to worry about erasing my pencil marks. Now, if you have the matching stamp set and you wanted to, you could stamp some more flowers. I don't particularly have a stamp set that goes well with those flowers, so I'm just going to stamp thank you. We'll glue our inside in. And there we have that part. We just need some bling of some sort. I brought in I'm going to use these gold faceted sequins. They have some really interesting shapes. They have these little half moons, and then they have the rest that are in two different size circles, and then they have like these teardrops. I'm going to use the itty bitty circles. And they are a flat sequin, so they work really nicely for mailing. So I think we'll put one in here by the thank you, and then just put a couple more somewhere else on the card. And there's card 1, which is our Z-fold, gatefold with a window. So I hope you really liked this one. My chair is rolling away from me. I'm going to show you a second card. This is a window normal gatefold, so you only need a half a sheet of cardstock for this one. So we're going to do this one. This is using the Dandy Designs Designer Series paper out of the Celebration catalog. And then I have yet one more to show you that after I'm done, that was the one I wanted to show you, but the Dainty Flowers paper went away. Thank you, Sherry. Thank you, Deb. So this time we'll start with one sheet that's 5.5 inches by 8.5 inches. We're going to score it at 2 1/8 inches on either side, or basically fold it so that they meet in the center. This time we're going to cut our die out of the Designer Series paper first. And you know, just so I don't have to fight with that lining it up, we're going to be lazy here. Right about there is where I want it to be. And we're going to run this through our Big Shot. Oh, Big Shot, listen to me. That was my old machine. Through our die cutting machine. Again, you'll have another little circle you can work with. It cut through the tape, so I'm going to need a little more tape. Now to align this one up, I'm going to lay this one on top where it will be when it's glued down. I'm going to bring in my pencil again, wherever it went, and I'm going to trace this circle right onto the front of my card base. And I'm just using a real light touch so it'll be easy to erase. So now I have my circle here because I want to cut, we're going to have to cut it twice. We're going to have to cut this side and then this side because we can't run it through and get both sides unless you happen to have two sets of dies. And I'm going to line this up right on that line. Oh, I just realized I used Balmy Blue on this one and Pacific Point on that one. That's okay, we'll do tone on tone with this one since we're already started. So we have a little half piece. If you're into those half circles, you could make another card with those pieces. Now we're going to line it up on this other side, right on the pencil line again. Don't forget, if you have questions, put a Q in front of them and ask them now, and then, because we're not far away from the question and answers portion of my video. Actually, this isn't a static video, this is a live, and if you're joining us on replay, still like, comment, and share. So now we have our fold again. Okay, of course this time it lines up pretty good. We're going to cut our Designer Series paper in half again so that we'll be able to open our card. Glue our paper onto our front again. And on our other side. We have our gatefold ready there. We just need to stamp our card base. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to lay it inside. I'm going to trace my circle really lightly in case I do have to use this side and erase it. I'm going to bring it in here, and I think it's probably going to line up right about there maybe. Okay, over a bit. And I'm just moving over one of these tiny little tick marks up here in the ruler at a time. And one more. Oops. I like that. So now that I know where to line it up, I'm going to flip it over, and this time I can stay up flush to that edge. And let's use Pacific Point ink so that our greeting will really show. That's good, one time. You see, this time I don't have to worry about erasing it because I was able to flip it over. And there's our standard gatefold, so that you only need half a sheet of cardstock. Put on a few gems. And we have a normal gatefold card with a window. We have a Z gatefold window. Wasn't sure what to call it. And here's the one I was going to demonstrate today, but the Dainty Flowers paper has gone away, so I was going to do this one, which is a landscape version of it. But since that paper went away, I decided I better do something different. So there's 3 different versions of a window gatefold card. So let me switch cameras. And it's time for questions and answers. So I am going to, and while we're doing questions and answers, we're going to start that up. I'm going to do the giveaway a little bit different this time. If you will type in #funfold, no spaces, doesn't have to be capitalized, that's what's going to put you in the drawing to get this card. So while we're doing that, remember #funfold, and I'll go back and I'll start looking at our comments. And the only way that the system will pick up on you for the drawing is to put in the #fun tag. So questions. Okay, so Deb has a question. Is that hard to remember right from left? Sometimes it's hard for me to remember my right from my left, but I just flip them around and I lay them before I glue them down. I just lay them in the direction they need to be so that I can kind of remember. That's why I had pieces setting over here, whoops, over here and over here. Liquid glue works best? Yes, in this case liquid glue definitely works best because it gives you that little bit of time to be able to move the paper around before you glue it down completely. And Terry, her favorite color of orange is Calypso Coral. Is it easier to use that trimmer than the regular trimmer? Not necessarily. I need a new blade in my regular trimmer, and when you're trimming just a tiny smidge, sometimes it's really hard. It kind of frays instead of cutting cleanly. So whatever trimmer you have that works best. Terry's asking, would it work to use a circle punch instead of the dies? Absolutely it would. If you have circle punches, that would probably be easier. The only limitation you have with a circle punch is how far you can come in and out. So you can only come down so far with a punch because it'll only slide in so far. But that's the only issue you have with a punch versus we just don't have any circle punches from Stampin' Up! Anymore. Which designer series paper is the blue one from? It's from Dainty, thank you Eileen, it's from the Dainty Designs in the Celebration catalog. You can get it free with a $100 order. Deb is asking, can you rub the thank you with your hand or do you need a block? No, you can definitely do it with your hand. If you have arthritis in your hands, this little block that Sherry W sent me as a gift works wonders. And all she did, she took an old wooden block, glued felt on one side, and then she made it pretty by putting designer series paper, an old designer series paper on the other side. It just makes it easier because you don't have to push with your fingers so much if you have arthritis. And some days my hands hurt, some days they don't. Okay, it looks like, oh, whoops, wait a minute. I don't know what hashtag is. It's the pound sign, Eileen. It's the pound sign. And Patty, this is definitely one you want to go back and watch the replay so that you can pause and stop and do things as you go along. So I am going to share my screen, give Eileen and everyone else a few more chances to put in FunFold. Irene, you might want to change it from hashtag FunFold card to hashtag FunFold. I'm not sure how. Oh, the dogs want back in. Well, they'll just have to wait. Sorry. So it's Paula. Congratulations, Paula. I am going to, where is this banner that's up here? Oh, it's over here that it's up. There we go. Takes me a little bit. So I hope you enjoyed this one. I don't have it, well, I kind of had a sneak peek for you of what's coming up on Friday. It's not done yet. This is all the farther I've gotten so far. But it's another, oops, now it's another, oh, glare. Here, hold it back further. It's another FunFold, but it's a super easy FunFold. And this is all the further I've gotten on it so far. I have to finish decorating the front. So something on that line is what you're going to see when I upload a video on Friday. So I hope you really enjoyed this one. I hope you'll try to make this, both the regular fold and the Z gatefold with a window. I hope you'll try both of those. And I hope you have a wonderful week. If you're up in this part of the country, I never did introduce myself at the beginning, but I'm pretty sure most of you know who I am. If you're up here and it's about to snow, stay warm, stay safe. And if you're someplace where it's warm, we're jealous. Have a wonderful week, everyone. I'll see you next Monday, same time, same place. Happy trails. Bye-bye.